Facebook. Okay. Sorry for that. I'm everything, but okay. Now, welcome everyone. Like officially, we are also being streamed live on Facebook. We're going to send the link in the chat. For the people that don't know me, I am Samantha Rodriguez. I am from Mexico. I am 20 years, and I am doing this project called The Voice of the Silence, where I interview people related to Holocaust survivors, and today I have the pleasure to interview Jonny Daniels, and he's the founder of From the Dephts, organization that helps Holocaust survivors, righteous among the nations. And I think his labor, well, it's amazing. Thank you, Jonny, for being here. How are you?
Very good. Thank you very much for having me. It's a real pleasure for me to be here. I'm actually coming to you live from my hotel room in Minsk, Belarus. I've traveled out to Belarus to visit the last living righteous amongst the nations who live here. It's my first trip out to Belarus, so it's been quite an experience. It's a very interesting place, and we spent the last few days visiting the last righteous here. So I hope everything's good with the connection as well. I'm relying on the Hotel Belarus's Wi-Fi, so we'll see how that goes.
No, yes, it's okay. It's wonderful, and thank you again for being here. As I said, he's the founder of From the Dephts, and I wanted to remark that this organization, the name, it comes from a verse of the Bible. It's a psalm, right? It's a psalm that it says, "From the depths of my despair, I call to you, Lord." And that's why they do. They help people in despair. You know, the righteous, the Holocaust survivors that they don't have the things to fulfill their needs. So I think that's amazing. And for starting this meeting, Jonny, I wanted you, to present yourself like a little bit more, you know. Can you tell us a little bit more about you?
Absolutely. So for those of you who are new to the foundation and to what we do, my name is Jonny Daniels. I was born and raised in London, England, as you can probably hear from my strong British accent. I moved to Israel. I made Aliyah at the age of 18. I served 3 years in the Israeli army. I was a staff sergeant in the paratroopers. And when I finished my army service, I started to get involved in politics in Israel, working for numerous parliamentarians. And during my service with the politicians and working, I took my first trip out to visit the German Nazi death camps in Poland. I went and I visited Auschwitz-Birkenau and Sobibor and Majdanek and Treblinka and Helmno. And I saw where my family came from. Part of my family came from a city called Dobrzyn nad Wisłą. And my great-grandfather was the only person from his family to survive. The entire family were killed in the Holocaust. And I never wanted to go. I was always a bit afraid to visit and afraid of what I'd see. But when I saw and I had an opportunity to understand the importance of visiting these sites, this is when I activated, I got involved, and I started my foundation, From the Dephts. And it's led us in many different paths and avenues, doing lots of different work on lots of different things. And one of the points that we've been focusing on, especially over the last few months, has been COVID. Through COVID has been the stories of the righteous amongst the nations, and working with them and helping them and support them. And so this is going to be the focus of this evening's conversation, where we're going to be talking also a little bit about what we're doing with the last living righteous, telling some of their stories of these remarkable people that we've had the opportunity to meet, and sharing this with all of you. So I'm once again very happy to be here, and I'm truly impressed. Sam, once again, you are doing remarkable work. And I think I speak on behalf of everybody here when I say, you know, really, kol hakavod, congratulations, well done. It's not usual. Hold on, Sam, you have to wait for me to finish praising you before you unmute yourself and say something, because it's unusual. When I started my foundation, I looked around and I looked at all the big institutions and I tried to get involved and to do things. And it wasn't easy because I was a young person getting involved in a heavy and difficult subject. And I started and I said, well, how can I talk about this? Who am I? I'm not a historian. I don't have 7 PhDs. I don't have letters before or after my name. How can I discuss such a subject? And the first person I sat with was Elie Wiesel, of blessed memory, a well-known Holocaust survivor who many would have heard of. And I said to him, I said, Professor, Dr. Wiesel, I said, how can I get involved in this subject? Who am I? And he said, Jonny, you have it wrong. He says, you have to be involved. He said, you are my witness. He said, if your generation don't start standing as the witnesses of the witnesses, then everything will be lost. Our stories will be history stories. They'll be forgotten. And this is really what drove me and gave me this inspiration. And when I look around, there still aren't as many young people, millennials like myself, and even people younger than me getting so active and involved, which is what makes me such a huge fan of yours, Sam, and the incredible work that you're doing, gathering people from all around the world, from South America. I see people from Poland. I see people from Israel. I see people from everywhere, from the United States, coming here because of you to listen to this. So Sam, thank you very, very much.
Oh, thank you so much, Jonny. I think that's so important that my generation has to raise our voice, you know, because as you said, not just about Holocaust, about every injustice that we have been through history, because they're going to be forgotten, because the people that lived those injustices is dying. So talking about Holocaust, obviously it's so important to have this young audience or young voices that talk about that. And that's what I loved about the commemoration we had on January, that we had a lot of young people talking about their experiences, what they have learned about these meetings we have doing. So yes, that's so important. And I think what I want to ask you now is, well, for the people that don't know this term, can you explain us what is a righteous among the nations?
Absolutely. So most of us would have heard the stories of the Holocaust and would know the tremendously horrible and horrendous time that the Jewish people and other peoples went through during this period. We've heard the stories of the concentration camps, of the mass killing fields, and of all the difficulties. And often when we look at Holocaust survivors, the way they survived often was through the help of another. And these other people who stood up in this dark and difficult time, people who did it for no reward, who didn't do this for monetary purposes, who did this because it was the right thing to do, have subsequently been honored by the State of Israel, by Yad Vashem, Israel's Holocaust Museum, and with the title of Righteous Amongst the Nations. Righteous Amongst the Nations is a person, once again, who stood up and often risked their lives to save the life of another. Many of you would have seen the movie Schindler's List or have heard of Schindler's List. So Oskar Schindler, for example, was one of the righteous amongst the nations. He was somebody who hid and saved Jews during the Holocaust through his factory. And the remarkable thing is that when we look at this and we look at the fact that we know that sadly, the generation of Holocaust survivors are leaving us. And whilst we're blessed to have many Holocaust survivors still alive, they're of an older age, the righteous amongst the nations are even less. In total, there was just over 27,000 righteous amongst the nations, just over 27,000. Today, there's only 195 left. 195 righteous amongst the nations left in the entire world. And what we started to do was look at a way of being of assistance and support to them, in addition to all of our other work. And maybe I'll share the screen and I'll take you through a bit of a presentation and a bit of a background as to what we're doing and people's stories.
Yes, I think it's so important for us to know what's a righteous among the nations, right? Because everyone knows what's a Holocaust survivor, for example, but not everyone knows the term of righteous among the nations. They are the brave men and women that save the people, no? Well, obviously this term is referring to non-Jewish, right? Non-Jewish people that save the Jews.
Absolutely. So this term is given solely to a non-Jew who saved a Jew during the Holocaust, often risking their own life to do so. And this isn't something that we should take for granted or take lightly. It's something that really is a lot bigger and more serious than any of us could begin to imagine. Before I started my journey and my understanding with my foundation, one of the first thoughts that I had was, if this was on the other foot, then of course I would have done this. This is what I thought. And only after taking time and meeting with the righteous and talking to them and spending time from them, hundreds all around the world, I can safely say that most likely I probably wouldn't have done what they did. I wouldn't have been as brave as they were. I wouldn't have had the strength and the internal strength to do what they did. You see, it wasn't just a risk for themselves, but often for their entire families. Today, just after Shabbat, I met with a 94-year-old lady here in Belarus who's in her bed and can barely move. As a young girl during the Holocaust, she was responsible for taking Jews into the forest towards the partisans. Her and her mother hid Jews in their home during the Holocaust. On Friday, just before, I met another lady, and I asked her, how were you so brave? Where does this strength come from? And she said, what choice did I have? It was the right thing to do. And the other thing that we've definitely come to understand is that when dealing with Holocaust education, and when dealing with sharing this message on a broader scale, the stories of the righteous are very powerful and important stories to tell and to share. So I'm gonna share my screen now. And
yes, of course, we would love to watch your presentation. Tell us about a little bit of them, of the righteous, and what do you do with the organization from the Dephts to help them. I think it will be great for us to hear that.
Absolutely. So, as you can see from the Dephts, we speak about ourselves as standing as the witnesses to the witnesses, of making sure that these stories are told. From the Dephts was founded and started on the 27th of January, 2014, on International Holocaust Memorial Day. The first event that we held as the foundation was bringing the Knesset, Israel's parliament, to Auschwitz. It was my idea and brainchild, and something that we really felt powerful and positive about doing. And this is when the foundation started. I thought with that, I'd finish my work in terms of the foundation and carry on to something else. But it led me in many different paths, dealing with many different things. And one of the things that it led me to, as I discussed before, were the stories of the righteous amongst the nations. As of the 1st of January 2020, 27,712 men and women from 51 countries were recognized as righteous amongst the nations. Of those, only 195 righteous amongst the nations remain today. These pictures were pictures that were taken over the last 6 months in our work visiting with the last righteous. These pictures were taken in Poland, Slovakia, Germany, and Belarus. Will update later. You can see here, these are the survivors that are left, the righteous that are left according to the countries that they're from. We can see that the largest group is in Poland. Following that, you have Ukraine and Lithuania, and 11 in Belarus, as I mentioned before, where I am right now in Minsk, visiting the last righteous as well. Now, one of the first groups, one of the first stories that really sparked my interest in this matter and brought this home to me was the story of these two people here. These two people, many of you, majority won't recognize, and it's understandable. The couple that you see in front are Jan and Antonina Żabinski. The Żabinskis were the zookeepers of Warsaw Zoo. Jan and Antonina were the people who were running Warsaw Zoo. Many of you would have had the opportunity to see Zookeeper's Wife, a movie that came out about 4 years ago, I believe. A movie that we were very, very lucky to be able to work on. So we worked on the movie from the Dephts. We worked with Focus Features, the production company. We've worked on a bunch of movies, but this was one of them. And what we did was, even before the movie came out, we started to make sure that we can somehow push and record their story and make sure that their history is told. And when we went and visited Warsaw Zoo, we were amazed that the exact villa that the Żabinskis lived in and hid the Jews in the bunker still remains. So we partnered with the zoo. We took all the documents from Yad Vashem that were in Hebrew and we translated them into Polish and into English, and made a small exhibition along with the zoo in the villa in the basement. And from all of the roughly 300 Jews who survived, it was very important for us to see if there were any left. And we were incredibly lucky to find one of the last two survivors, Mr. Moshe Tirosh, who lives in Carmiel in Israel. Moshe was one of the last survivors of the Warsaw Zoo, and he remembers so beautifully the stories he tells of the Żabinskis hiding him in their basement, of Richard, their young son, coming down and bringing them food, of the times in which the Nazis came where he was hidden. Moshe remembers these stories, and we brought Moshe back to Warsaw Zoo to tell the stories. And below here as well, you can see Shira Haas, who many of you will recognize. Shira's a good friend of us in the foundation. Shira's actually now in Los Angeles for the Golden Globes. I don't know if any of you recognize her. She was recently in the Netflix show Unorthodox. So Shira was actually in the movie, The Zookeeper's Wife, and with the foundation, we brought her to the zoo. She shot the entire movie, took part in the movie, but had never visited the site itself. So we brought her to the zoo, where she had an opportunity to come and see this site. And once again, this story is such a powerful and important story. A story of two people, and again, many of you will have seen the movie, but the story behind it is truly remarkable. The fact that these people, and in Warsaw, Poland, in Poland and in other countries as well, to save a Jew was absolutely risking your life and the life of your family. It wasn't just, okay, come hide in my basement. If you were caught hiding a Jew, you and your entire family would be killed. And sadly, this happened. And this actually happened in the place below. So this man, Mr. Skoczylas, lives in a small city near Radom in Poland, a small village, I should say, called Ciepelov, next to Radom. Now, I entered this property, I heard this story of this family, and you can imagine from a scene in a movie entering this site where you have this garden that's fenced off and animals and chickens all around the place and rabbits in coops and just this scene from 100 years ago. And I knocked on the fence and entered the property. The family saw me and burst into tears. I was completely shocked. I said, I'm sorry, have I done something? And they said, no. They said, do you know that you're the first Jew to be here in over 75 years? And I said, I don't understand. Now, this gentleman, Mr. Skoczylas, took me to the kitchen where they lifted up the line of flooring, which you can see, and a small part of the floorboards. Under there was a small hiding place where they hid 4 Jews. 4 Jews were hiding in that place. I went inside. We took off the floorboards and I entered this hiding place, and I stood there for a few minutes in absolute shock and in awe. But I still didn't know the entire story. And as I exited the hiding place, Mr. Skoczylas took me to the back of his home where there were big fields, and he showed me that, he said, can you see that area over there, Johnny? There's an area that nothing will grow. And I said, yeah, I can see. He said, over there was the barn. I said, okay, what happened? He said, well, one day, the mayor, the daughter of the mayor of the city told the German Nazis that we were hiding Jews. And they came. Miraculously, somehow the Jews weren't there, but the Germans searched the home and they found this hiding place. They opened these floorboards, they went down and they saw a small book in Hebrew, and that was enough. They took the entire family and they took them into the barn in the back, and they pushed the whole family into the barn and they killed all of them. Every single member of the family was murdered. What was the crime? Saving the life of a Jew. This was such a powerful point for me. And I turned around to these people and I said, what can I say? What can I do? Do I say thank you? Do I say sorry? That no words can express your feeling in that moment and the feeling that one has to this family. Because how do we say thank you for paying an ultimate price? And at that point, I truly understood what it meant to be righteous. Because it wasn't just hiding something. It was actually risking everything and everyone that you loved. This was a point of understanding for me that gave me so much more appreciation for who these people are. And then I started to look around and started to see that so many people, so many of these heroes, their stories were not told. And also it's important to note that families like the Skochilas family, like this gentleman's family, were never honored by Yad Vashem. The reason for that is to be recognized as a righteous amongst the nations. Someone has to survive to tell the story. But what about all the people that never had that chance? So this is where we decided to start thinking of how we can also, in addition to the work that we're doing, and you can see on our website from the Dephts.org, all the other stuff we do as a foundation, and on our Facebook page, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, everywhere. You can see all the other things. But the stories of the righteous really stuck out for me. So we started to look around and we started to slowly go and meet with the righteous and understand what they went through. This remarkable lady, these flowers I gave her on her 102nd birthday, 102 years old. I gave her these flowers on her birthday in Warsaw, Poland. And we sat with her and wanted to understand her story. Her son, Mr. Danko, told us all about it. And we understood that she was having a hard time and she needed a new bed, a medical bed. So we went and we put it on Facebook and people shared it and it was picked up by the media. And this wonderful man in Canada sent me an email, said, Johnny, how much do you need? I told him, he sent me the exact amount. The next day we went and bought the family and bought her the new bed. Sadly, just a few months later, she passed away. But at least for those remaining few months of her life, she was able to have comfort because of the fact that we went to visit. And below, you can see some more of these remarkable people. On the top corner, with me holding the hand of this wonderful gentleman, Mr. Józef Jarosz. Józef is one of the kindest and sweetest and loveliest men you've ever met. Now, Józef lives in the Polish Highlands, so he's a Highlander, which is a very special kind of person. Highlanders are very tough. Józef is a very calm, quiet man. He spent his life after the war as a truck driver, but during the war, he was a young boy. Józef's family had never met a Jew before the war. Again, they were Highlanders. They lived about 30 kilometers north of a city called Nowy Sącz. Some of you would have heard of it as Sanz, where there's a big Hasidic movement came from, Nowy Sącz in Galicia in Poland. And Józef, Józef's parents had this kind of bunker that they put 14 Jews in. 14 Jews hid in this hiding place, including Mrs. Anna, Pani Anna, who was a young girl at the time. Now, remarkably, Anna continued to live in Poland after the war. and today lives just 30 kilometers away from Yusuf, and they see and they meet all the time. And when I've met with both of them together, the stories are truly remarkable. When you have an opportunity to meet with a savior and one he saved, you hear the stories of this little girl who was basically a baby at the time, a toddler, who didn't see the sunlight for 2 years. When she came out, she could barely see, she didn't know how to look. She could barely walk, cramped in this place for 2 years, but kept alive by this man and his parents. True heroes living today. Below, you can see a picture of me dancing with Mrs. Alicja Schnepf. Her son, Richard Schnepf, became the Polish ambassador to the United States under the previous administration. And the other lovely, remarkable lady is Dr. Anna Bandor, the president of the association, the Polish Association of the Righteous, who saved 2 Jews in her home in Żoliborz, Warsaw. And Dr. Bandor actually celebrated her 92nd birthday just 2 days ago. Unfortunately, I was in Belarus, but we were able to send flowers and make sure she had a beautiful and wonderful birthday as well. And what we've continued doing and pushed forward in doing was also making sure that we give these heroes a constant understanding and knowledge that we love them, that we care about them, and that we're never going to forget what they did. You can see in both of these pictures, these are 2 separate events that we held as a foundation with the chairman of our foundation, a gentleman called Mr. Avram Grant, who was the former manager of Chelsea Football Club, a well-known soccer team in the United Kingdom, Chelsea Football Club, and our president of our foundation, Mr. Edward Mossberg, a Holocaust survivor, a remarkable individual who was born in Krakow, Poland, survived multiple concentration camps, places like Plaszow, and ended up in Mauthausen, from where he was released. And in fact, Mr. Mossberg gave me this bracelet with his number on, a bracelet that I wear every single day, a bracelet that says 85454, his number. And he gave it to me and he said, "Johnny, wear this bracelet." He said, "People will always ask you, what are those numbers on your wrist?" And you'll tell them the numbers and you'll remember me. And I said, "Mr. Mossberg," I said, "I'm going to remember you regardless." He said, "Wear the bracelet." So every single day since then, I've worn this bracelet as a constant reminder of Mr. Mossberg and also of the work that we're doing. And there are so many other notable and wonderful people that you can see in these pictures, from the Deputy Speaker of Israel's Parliament, Chilik Bar, to the former Mayor of Arkansas and US presidential candidate Mike Huckabee, ministers from the Polish government, heads of Jewish associations. But one thing that we always have at our events is that every single one of our events, all of these politicians, all of these famous people, always sit in the second row. Now, it's caused some trouble sometimes when the politicians come with their security and they say, "Well, where are they sitting?" And I said, "In the second row." "The second row? Us in the second row?" I said, "Yeah, you in the second row. The first row is always reserved for the righteous and for the survivors. These are the heroes, and these are the people that we need to honor and remember and make sure that we never, ever forget." This incredible man is Mr. Józef Wołaszczak. Mr. Józef Wołaszczak lives in Warsaw, and just a month ago, about a month and a half ago, celebrated his 101st birthday, 101 years old. We held a big event for him on his 100th birthday. Sadly, on his 101st birthday, due to COVID, we were unable to hold such a big event as last time. But what we did was we went to his home. We had people from, I think, over 50 countries send in greetings and happy birthday wishes, from Africa to Asia and everywhere in between. People came forward and wished him a happy birthday, and we sat there and watched this with him. But Mr. Wołaszczak is just the most remarkable man. Józef saved 54 Jews. His story and the story of the rescue of these Jews is a story that would take me hours to tell. I won't, but I could. His story was in fact so powerful that Roman Polanski, who many of you will know as the director of The Pianist and other movies, who himself actually was saved by Righteous Amongst the Nations in Gliwice in Poland. I was with Mr. Polanski about 6 months ago, I believe, at a ceremony in which the Righteous were honored, those who saved his life. Mr. Polanski said, if I didn't make The Pianist, I would have made the story of Joseph Iwaszczak. His story is a Hollywood movie. This handsome man was really basically James Bond. 54 Jews. A group of the Jews he saved were taken and captured by the Gestapo, and he went to them tall and proud and he said, I want these people back. They work for me. The Nazis laughed at him. And they said, okay, bring us 1 kilo of gold within an hour. And he went and got it. He went into places. He opened stores that were closed. You can use your imaginations about how he managed to get this, but he got it and he saved these people. And as you can see, Joseph is with us today and a remarkable, true hero. We also, with the foundation, really thought about what we could do to be of service to them, because it's a generation of people who after the Holocaust went through communism, a lot of these people in countries like Poland and Belarus and Ukraine and Lithuania. So it was an issue for us of how do we help them in their day-to-day life. These are very proud people. What is an amazing thing to see with all of the Righteous, I don't think any of them have ever asked me for anything. With all the meetings that we've had, as I've said, with close to 200 Righteous by this point, not once have any of them turned around and said, I need help with this. We always have to come forward with new ideas of how to help them. Now, this was one of our ideas. There you can see with Avram Grant, who was the former manager of Chelsea Football Club, as you could see. So through Chelsea Football Club and Mr. Mossberg, the survivor that we mentioned before, we were able to bring these iconic London taxis. Many of you will recognize these black taxis from the movies. Any of you who have been to London will recognize them from the streets of London. So we actually have driven, by this point, I've driven 3 of these taxis myself, all the way from Warsaw, all the way from London to Warsaw, which is quite a long drive. And we've brought them out to Poland where they act as a free car service for the Righteous whenever and wherever they need. All they have to do is call us. There's a special driver and a taxi line, and they call us and we come and pick them up and take them to wherever they want to go, whenever they need to go. And here was the inauguration in the British Embassy in Warsaw. And again, it was much of always a point of how do we tell their stories. Now, often when we think of the Holocaust, we're thinking of where the main mass killings took place, which, as we know, were in occupied Poland, in Germany, and in Austria. But we don't always realize how far the Nazis, the Germans, pushed their hatred and their evil. And one of the places that this evil got to was Albania. Albania, remarkably, was the only country under German occupation during the Second World War that had more Jews after than before the war. Again, it was the only country that had more Jews after than before the war. And this was down to this openness and this hospitality of the Albanian people, with this idea of what they call besa, which is openness. And these Albanian Righteous are true heroes, remarkable people, Albanian Muslims that risked their lives to save Jews during the war. On the left, I'm with the family of one of the Righteous from Albania. And on the right, I'm with Baba Mundi, who is the spiritual leader of the Albanian Muslims. And I sat with Baba Mundi and we spoke and thanked him and on behalf of us and who we are as young Jews, on behalf of those brave Albanians who risked their lives to save Jews. And we continued doing work beyond the Righteous and telling more stories. And over the last few years, we've brought, and you probably recognize the man on the left, a guy called Mike Tyson. I don't know if any of you have heard of him, a well-known boxer. On the right is David Haye, another well-known boxer. We bring all these celebrities out, we get them activated, and we get them involved. With Mike, we introduced him to a survivor of the Warsaw Uprising, and we took them both to the monument of the Warsaw Ghetto, sharing and telling the stories, continuing the work with incredible people like Ray Allen, the NBA All-Star, Deshaun Jackson, the NFL player, and many other celebrities. Actually, here on the right-hand side with Dean Cain, who used to play Superman, who's on the board of our foundation. This is us in the hiding place that I showed you before from the Skachillas family, with Stephen Baldwin as well. And with working through these celebrities and non-Jewish celebrities, we're able to share these stories to their audiences. And one of the main reasons we're doing that is because of this. Now, this is from Google Analytics. Now you can see the search term Holocaust, and you can see the interest over time. From January 2004 until today, look how much that graph has dropped. That is a petrifying and a very, very scary statistic. We talk often about the fact that people don't know. People really don't know. And it's our responsibility to make sure they do. We can't expect other people to know our history if we're not telling it ourselves. We can't expect someone living wherever they're living. It could be in the United States, the United Kingdom, in Mexico, in Brazil, wherever you are. We can't expect that someone's going to sit down and read a history book on the Holocaust. We have to be telling them. But we also have to tell them and approach it in a way that makes it interesting to them. And this is the biggest difficulty that we find, especially today as millennials and as young people. And this is one of the reasons why we focus so heavily on the stories of the righteous. This is where we are today on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. On TikTok, actually, which we opened on International Holocaust Memorial Day, I had a look at the analytics just before I came. We've had over 300,000 views on our content on TikTok. Over 1,000 hours of viewing, which on sort of 30-second videos is pretty crazy. 1,000 hours of people viewing our videos and our content, which is purely based around Holocaust education, in a way that brings them in a way that creates interest through the stories often of the righteous and of others. And to keep it brief and short, and to make sure that we have an opportunity to open for questions, this is again a brief overview of some of our work with the righteous. And really the main point and kind of what happened, especially over the last year with COVID, was we decided to change a little bit how we do things. What we did was we came back. I personally got on a flight. I left my kids in Israel and I got on a flight to Poland because I knew that would be locked down. In fact, pretty much exactly 1 year ago from now, a year ago from today, I got on a flight from Tel Aviv to Warsaw and I haven't been back since. It's been impossible, unfortunately. But what we did was we tried to figure out how we can help these people, because the majority of them are alone. These are people in their 90s, as we heard, even 101 years old. And if we're not going there and bringing them what they need, if it's shopping. At the beginning, we remember the scenes, I don't know if you had the same in South America, but here in Europe, and people fighting for toilet paper on the shelves. How's a 101-year-old man going to go and fight for toilet paper? Now, it sounds funny, but it's a problem. It's an issue. And if we don't think about that, and we don't take these people into our hearts, not all of these people have families. Not all of these people have kids that can afford to go shopping for them. So we went shopping for them. And before Easter, we partnered with restaurants to cook them full, entire Easter meals. And before Christmas, we went and I pushed every Polish company I could to donate foods and products, and we traveled around. I personally delivered to the majority of the Living Righteous Christmas packages. I went, I had no idea what I was doing, because it's not, Jewish boys don't often buy Christmas trees, but I realized that it would be a problem and an issue for them this year after they told us. So I went and I bought 150 Christmas trees. And we went and delivered Christmas trees to the majority of the living righteous, to make sure that they can celebrate their holiday with love and attention and care. And as of now, Belarus is the 18th country that I've visited over COVID, visiting the righteous and visiting Holocaust survivors as well, making sure that we tell the stories of what happened here, and make sure that when we say never forget and never again, we really mean it.
Wow, Jonny, thank you so much. I think it was amazing, all this presentation, and of course the job that you are doing with this organization. It's yeah, remarkable. And I think for us, it's a thing to think, well, yeah, to think about that, to love our neighbors. I think that's what you do in your organization, to love your neighbors. And it's like you're helping the people that helped your ancestors, and also my ancestors. I have my Jewish great grandfather, you know, so I think that's amazing, because I think, well, for example, the Bible says, right, that there's no love, greater love than putting your life for your brother or sister. And that's what the righteous among the nations did. And now you are giving them thank you, saying them thank you with these actions, giving them food, giving them love. So thank you so much,
Sure.
Jonny.
I think the other important point is, more than anything, is regardless of Bible or not Bible, religious or not, because some of these people, when you speak to them, they did so because of their belief in, you know, some people, they did it because of their strong Christian beliefs. Other people I spoke to, including one of the ladies here in Minsk, I was shocked to go in her room and see Arabic written on the wall. I couldn't believe it. I was really surprised. I was like, Arabic in Belarus? I was like, what? Like, and I said, what is this? And her name was Aisha. Her mother was Fatima. They were Tatar Muslims. This is a Muslim group who lived around in Europe, and she's probably the last living Tatar righteous. And, you know, when I spoke to them, religiosity and their belief in Islam played a role. But for others, it wasn't. And including one of the righteous I spoke to yesterday, I said, did God play a role in what you did? And she said, absolutely not. I did it simply because it was the right thing to do. And when I look at what we're doing to do today as well, we're doing it simply because it's the right thing to do. And it's also an incredible opportunity, because this is literally the first time that we as Jews and as people have had an opportunity to truly help those who helped us. It's the first time that by me going shopping on their behalf, they're not going out and shopping and not risking their lives. And it is a risk for elderly people now to go out if they don't need to. So when we're able to take that risk away by doing it ourselves, this really is a remarkable thing, and something that we're so proud that we're able to do.
Yes, I think that's so important now, more nowadays with this COVID situation. But yes, it's amazing. And yes, as you said, it's the right thing to do. Also to recognize them, to honor them, because all the lives they saved. Well, before reading some questions here in the chat, I will want to take a picture of this meeting. Also in Facebook, we had like 20 people. So we've been like 50 people watching this, and I think it's amazing. It's not about the number, it's about learning, but I think it's amazing. So if you can turn on your camera, it would be good, so we can take a picture of this meeting. Okay, I'm just waiting a minute, waiting for the cameras. Okay, yes, I am. Okay, 1 minute more, okay. I will take the picture now then. 1, 2, 3. Okay, wait a minute, just a minute, because okay, sorry. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, thank you. As you can see, we have also here young people that we just invited, and it's amazing for us to have you here, people at my age, a little bit older, a little bit younger, from Mexico, from USA. So thank you. Before starting with these questions at the chat, I just wanted you, Jonny, to tell us what can we do as this young generation to help this cause you are fighting for?
Look, I think that you know, principally the main thing is to get the message out, and it's to share the stories, and it's to make sure that this is heard as broadly as possible. And again, we have to think smartly as well, because most of the young people will know, most of us have TikTok, right? The younger generation who are on here. For the older generation, it's a new social media platform that's basically, you know, pushed into small snippets of videos, mainly including teenagers doing stupid dances or other things. But it's this quick platform where you scroll through videos. Now, if the video is not produced in a correct way, it's not of interest to people. And if it's too heavy, people aren't going to want to watch it. It's just a simple way that we deal with how we're consuming information today. Now, the organizations and institutions are doing an amazing job in making, you know, academic works and researches and huge conferences. But the majority of people, and the people that don't know about the Holocaust, are going to continue not knowing about the Holocaust because they're not going to conferences and they're not reading books. But they are on TikTok, and they are on Facebook, and they are on Instagram. So make content, share content. There is so much good content. We'd love to do some stuff in Spanish, for example, because it's an incredibly important demographic. Also, not just in South America, but in the United States as well, with such an important group of people who speak Spanish. So if there are any young people out there who want to, you know, help us and get some of our content out in Spanish, that would be amazing. But again, there's so many opportunities, and it's sharing this content, and it's also thinking smart about which content that we share. Because once again, if we, you know, we have to tell everybody what happened, and this is our role, is to make sure that that the story of the Holocaust is heard. But again, often it's easier for younger people and for people who aren't connected to be brought into this with issues of heroism and issues of connected to righteousness. When you hear the story of the Żabinskis, those who saved 300 Jews in Warsaw Zoo, you say, wow, it's a movie that you'd like to watch. What a great story. And when you start seeing that, you start understanding, okay, well, if there was these really, really good people doing this really, really great thing, they were doing it for a reason. And then when you've understood that reason, then you can understand much easier what happened from the other side as well. And I think that this also becomes part of bringing this message to a younger generation, is often through the stories of the righteous, their ears will open a little bit more, and they'll be able to attach to other things. And also we have to ask ourselves, you know, as me as a Jew, and friends as Christians and as Muslims and whoever we are, we need righteous today. If it's not the Uyghur community in China, who there's a genocide going on there, where are we? Where are we today in terms of making sure that this doesn't happen? These messages that we learn from these heroes, how do we implement those in our lives as well? So young generations, share the stories, get on social media, follow us, share your own stories. We can help you make your own content. It's something that we know how to do and we're good at. And you know, just get it out as much as you can.
Wow, yeah, I think that's amazing, and maybe one day we can have a meeting with the interested young people that wants to do this, you know. I think that would be awesome because, for example, TikTok is full of trash content. It's the truth. It's the truth. So it will be awesome for us to make TikToks about history, not just history, about not hating, right? Because as you said, there's a genocide happening today in China. So yes, I think that's so important. And anyone that wants to join this cause, well, you can contact us, and maybe we can also do a collaborative TikTok, for example, and send it to Jonny so he can have this content in Spanish. It will be awesome. Thank you, Jonny. And I think we have a question here from Ron. Do you want to open your microphone?
Thanks, Sam. Well, basically what I asked when Jonny was showing the statistics from Google about the declining rate of interest in the Holocaust is shown on Google. I just asked what happened in 2004 or just prior to cause this spike. But Marcos wrote me privately, and I think he shed some light that there was a movie that came out, which I haven't heard about, called The Fall. Came out just that year. So perhaps that could have been a reason why all of a sudden it generated more interest, and then it just fell back to the normal level, which perhaps is not enough. There should be a greater interest in the Holocaust. And I really want to congratulate Jonny for this project. I haven't heard about it before, so thank you, Sam, for bringing him here. I think it's wonderful, not just to recognize these people who helped, but to give back and to express a gratitude that way. So thank you very much.
Thank you. I think also the other interesting point is that you can look at a steady decrease from 2004. From 2004 is where the Google Analytics started, is where they started on that particular point. So you can imagine that prior to that, it was probably even higher. And it's a graph that's just slowly decreased over the last 16 years. And that's, unfortunate. Often if, for example, when you put certain words into Google, it gives you the sort of AI of the next words that will come up. So for example, if you wrote Jerusalem, it could come up with, potential opportunity of Jerusalem Post or Jerusalem City or Jerusalem this. Google gives you that. When you type in Holocaust in the United Kingdom, the third thing that comes up is jokes. The third thing that Google wants you to see is Holocaust jokes, which means that this is the third most searched for thing when it comes to Holocaust in the UK, is Holocaust jokes. So you can understand the interest is not often where it should be and is decreasing over time. And this is a huge problem.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for that answer. Yeah, it is a huge problem, and yeah, with the time it's running, I think it's more easy for us to forget. So that's why we have to keep on telling the stories, about Holocaust, about all this. Well, I will give the word to Isaac, but before that, we just had another little question here that I was Miriam asking, how do you find these people? I think the righteous among the nations, I guess.
Yeah. It's not always easy. In fact, it's very difficult. In Poland, we work very closely with the Association of the Righteous, the Polish Association. So they all know each other, and they introduce us to the other righteous amongst the nations. In Belarus, for example, we received help from an incredible Christian organization out here who have done a lot of work with righteous and with Holocaust survivors. So they've helped us and introduced us. In Lithuania, we've relied on local Jewish community and in others. But for example, in Hungary, where I think there's over 10 righteous, we haven't been able to find any of them. We know that there are 10 righteous alive, but we don't know who or where they are. Yad Vashem gave the medals, but didn't always stay in touch with these people, right? So we have the ages, but we don't know anything beyond that. So we've put stories in media in Hungary and in Budapest and other places, desperate to find them, but have been unable. Thankfully, as I said, we found the majority of the living righteous, the vast majority, but not all of them yet.
Yes, I think it's a difficult labor, but when you have those contacts, it's more, well, it's easier, no? But obviously it's difficult because they are so old. Maybe they don't have, for example, you can't find them on Facebook or something like that. But it's amazing the point that you have reached now, and all the people that you have helped with this organization. I think Jessie has another question, so you can unmute yourself.
Thank you very much. I want to ask you, what are you thinking to do the next years before the rights among the nations? It's kind of uncomfortable question, but before they die, what do you want to do? what do you think that you can do to continue this labor?
So look, I mean, it's an important question. And it's, look, just before Christmas, we were getting ready to deliver packages of food to 212 righteous, and over 15 of them died in the month up to Christmas. Here in Belarus alone, one of them passed away during COVID. One of them who visited me in Poland last year, a year ago at Józef's 100th birthday, we brought 2 Belarusian righteous. One of them passed away because of COVID, and the other one, I visited him 2 days ago and he didn't remember who I was. And it was incredibly sad. And that was actually as a result of COVID. He has complete memory loss. And it's remarkably sad. So, and I'm personally upset because I wanted to record both of them and to sit down with them and hear their stories. And neither of them I can. So what we try and do is we've tried to work with local organizations and people to record them and to record their testimonies, because you'd be shocked, but the majority of them haven't even had proper full recorded testimony. But it's difficult. We're a small foundation. The majority of the people who are with me are volunteers, and we don't have huge budgets and all of this stuff. And it's a decision always, you know, do I spend $1,000 on sending people to record it and then edit it, you know, even more and do that together? Or do we buy a new wheelchair for one who needs one, right? So it's always this balance. And so what I do when I meet them is I'll record them on my phone, I'll talk to them, I'll keep this footage and hopefully do something with it. But we're recording as many of their testimonies as we can. We're working and partnering with journalists from different countries to talk with them and to write down their stories and to make sure that everything's in place. And this is really what we're trying to do. And just, you know, we're not, you know, a huge institution with hundreds of people, or I wish we were, but we're small, and it enables us to be dynamic and do things quickly and fast and without much red tape, but it also gets us blocked back a little bit sometimes as well.
Thank you.
Okay, now I think Isaac has a message for you, Jonny. So
Hi, Jonny. First of all, let me congratulate you for your job. And you know, like I told Samantha, you have an open door with us in Diario Judío and all our media to tell these stories, to talk about your job, and to get to more people. It's important for many people to know, not just about the survivors. It's more important in some cases to show the world that there were cases where people risked their lives to save others, and that it could be possible. If there were more people like that, maybe we wouldn't have the Holocaust or other tragedies like that, no? And I have a special message for you. I'm going to read it. Congrats for organizing this meeting. Thank you, Jonny Daniels, for your incredible work and care about the righteous among the nation. It's signed by Maciel Ciatara, Ambassador of Poland to Mexico. He's here in this conference, and he sent you from the beginning a big and a huge hug and congratulations. He couldn't be inside the conference, but he's hearing you and keeping an eye of what you are saying and congratulating you for it, Jonny.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
There is another one. I want just to, Michelle Sanchez, I don't know if she wants to talk open, or I just want to say that not all the content in TikTok is trash. In my case, I follow scientists, doctors, writers, artists. It's a good platform to spread experiences and knowledge. Thank you so much for sharing this with us, John and Sam. I think we have to look also in TikTok for that things that are a little bit more hidden than the dancing and the jokes and every other thing that are in TikTok. Sure, there are good things like in other places, but the important thing is to bring them on to light. I have a question for you, Jonny, if you allow me. Do you think the Jewish people has a special or a bigger responsibility with the writers? They have to have more attention? Do you have I don't know. What do you think it has to be? Because they save a lot of Jewish people. So it
Yeah,
has
look, I honestly, I mean, it's kind of a big statement, and you know, will probably get me in trouble.
all right.
But I'm used to that. We've 100%
To the
failed.
troubles or to the statement? Are you are
I'm used to getting in trouble because I tell my truth, and I never hide away from that. We have failed 100% as a Jewish community in terms of our responsibility to these people. There is absolutely no question. The fact that, you know, we have to bring taxis to Warsaw to enable them to get around, you know, again, it's not just enough. Now there are organizations, amazing organizations doing a lot. We're not the first people to help the righteous, and we're not the last. There are others, but you also have to understand mentality, right? So when you're dealing, for example, with somebody, and I know that Michal and the ambassador will be able to back me up on this, but when you're dealing with Central Eastern Europe, countries like Poland, where the majority of the righteous still live, an older generation is often different to how they would be, say, for example, where you live, or in Western Europe. An older person, if they receive money, will most likely go and put it in the bank, or literally put it under their mattress. They're not spending that money. They're saving it for a rainy day. So they could have money, we could give them lots and lots of money, but if we're not coming to them and saying, take this is for you, they often won't use it. So for example, we took about a month and a half ago, we took an electric scooter that an Israeli had donated to us. An Israeli who lived in Warsaw had donated an electric scooter. We took this to Pan Richard, who lives in Warszawa, who lives in Warsaw, and we took an electric motorized scooter for him. And he wouldn't be moving without that. One of the righteous that I saw here in Belarus has a wheelchair that was literally falling to pieces. And I said, what is this? You know, so we're going to go and buy her a new wheelchair. So it's the kind of thing that often if you don't go and actually give these kind of things to people, then they won't necessarily use the money that we're giving them. Rather, they'll keep it, or they'll give it to their children, or they won't. Again, these are special people. And like I said, I've not met one righteous who said, I need this or I want this. It's going and literally giving them and saying, here you go. And they'll say, no. And I said, no, take it. When I first brought the taxis to Warsaw, the righteous were like, no, we don't need it. We're okay with the trams and with the buses and all of this. And slowly over time, they've got used to it. They're happy using it. And it's used 7 days a week and many times. This is just generally, you know, our responsibility. I grew up in a family with great care and attention given to my elders. My two beautiful daughters, Michali and Yaeli, the same thing. You know, you have to have respect for your elders. And especially now, these people are old and they're elderly, and we have to respect them and help them and do what we can. And even more so for these last living heroes. It's absolutely our responsibility. You know, the lady I met today was the after Shabbat, the 94-year-old lady was blind. And, you know, regardless, I sat there and I spoke and I brought her a big bunch of flowers. Now, I know she can't see the flowers, but it's not the point. The point is I went there with these to give and to sit with her and to allow her to know that I was there. And I've come all the way to Belarus to tell her that I love her and I'm thankful for her and we're here for them.
Oh, thank you for, yeah. I think it's great. It's, as I always say, a great labor. You are going from one country to another, you know, to visit all these righteous. And as you said, maybe as a Jew, you feel more responsibility, of course, of saying thank you to them. So I think here in the chat, we have an interesting conversation about TikTok. With young people, it's like sharing comments about that. Well, I don't know if not, I will read it because I think it's important. But if you, Ale, want to talk, you can unmute yourself and tell the comment that you were saying there. But well, if you don't want, it's okay.
I'll actually jump in because he's talking about the algorithms, and yes. the way that TikTok works is that it pushes content to you. So the kind of content that it's going to push is the content that it's done by age and group and the kind of stuff that you've looked for in the past to try and keep you interested. So the algorithms really are working against even people like Michelle, whose content is full of doctors and historians and you know, amazing people. A lot of people don't get their content. Also, TikTok is well known for actually the anti-Semitic content and also the Holocaust denial content. It was very famous last year. It was all over the media for a filter as a survivor. I don't know if you saw this, but people putting these black and white images on TikTok, you know, with the background of Auschwitz, making fun of the Holocaust. It's very popular. You can see it everywhere. In fact, when I spoke to media about TikTok, they were angry. You know, that I was talking to Times of Israel and the Jerusalem Post about what we're doing, that like TikTok's trash, it's disgusting, we won't even cover it. And I was like, no, it's changing. So it is, and you're right, it's hard to break the algorithm of TikTok, but again, there's ways of making it interesting, right? So for example, one of the recent videos that we did that went quite viral was a video where I'm you know, holding my phone just to my face and I'm walking with you know, which is visually interesting. And I turn around and I tell people, I said, could you be silent for 1 minute? Could you be silent for a month? Could you be silent for a year? Right? So you're starting with a question, you're gaining interest. There's a hook from a perspective of TikTok that brings people in. And then you tell them, if we was, you know, you'd have to be silent for 11.5 years if we held a 1 minute silence for every victim of the Holocaust. Now, it was a very short video that really grabbed people's attention.
Yes, I think there's yeah, it's difficult to break the algorithm, but maybe if we start as young people to do this educational, for example, TikToks, Instagram Reels, etc., I think we can make the change, you know, like help this cause to teach about what happened. So I think it's so important, and maybe we will we will ask you for some tips with some advices, you know, for doing this kind of TikToks. So, okay, I think we have two last questions. One is from my mom. Well, it says, well, she has my name, but it says, how has the pandemic affected your labor? Well, I think you told us that it was a change, you know, but how did it affect it, you know, the labor you're doing?
It affected it very badly. It affected it, number one, in terms of donations. You know, we're a foundation, so we rely on donations, and obviously it was very difficult for people to donate money, but it also became difficult for companies often to donate products that would, you know, be able to use in work for the righteous, for example. So that affected us. It also affected us greatly because a lot of the stuff that we'd like to do with the righteous were public events. We'd like to do these big events to bring them out. For Joseph's 100th birthday party, which we held 1.5 years ago, you know, he loves fast cars. I sent him a Ferrari to pick him up for his birthday. The people in Ferrari were absolutely shocked. They were like, we think this is the oldest person. They're like, are you sure he's going to be okay? I'm like, yeah, he likes fast cars. Every time he's in the taxi, he points out to the driver. He's like, oh, look at that car. It goes from 0 to 60 and da-da-da-da-da. So the driver was telling me about it. I was like, you know what? So we managed to convince Ferrari Poland to send him a Ferrari to pick him up. And, you know, when you're able to do these things and to give them these experiences, it's brilliant. For us, it's affected us in the fact that it's difficult to travel. I've been driving to 18 countries. I haven't been able to fly anywhere, which is tricky. But it's more difficult for the righteous, honestly. A lot of them, some of them who don't have families are lonely. And being lonely, as all of us know, mental health is a big concern during COVID for young people, but also for old people. So this has also been a big focus of ours. We don't have the finances for it, but I did it anyway. Just last month, we hired, or 2 months ago, we hired a young psychologist who's working for us, and she's calling all the righteous. She's speaking to them on the phone. She's talking to them, asking how their day is, what they need. And, you know, this is also a big concern. So it's changed the focus slightly of what we do as a foundation to a lot more Zooms, and with the righteous in terms of you know, a lot more travel, and just, you know, I never thought I'd be bulk buying, you know, Christmas trees, as I mentioned before. Never thought. I you know, that was an amazing experience.
Yes, I think it affected, obviously, in a bad way, you know, of all the things that you have been saying, but also it was an opportunity, right? For doing this new stuff that maybe it's difficult. As you said, you had to travel by car to all these countries. But I think, as you said, you're doing the right thing. And well, I admire you. And I know everyone here is admiring the job.
The other really important point, I'm just going to jump in, is that however, you know, and not at one point through this entire process could I look at myself and say, oh my God, this has been so difficult for me, right? The other incredible thing about working with these people is perspective, right? When you have the opportunity to sit with either a Holocaust survivor or with a righteous amongst the nations, one of the things that it absolutely gives you is perspective on life, right? It's, oh no, you know, tomorrow I'm driving to the city where Mark Chagall was born, up in the northern part of Belarus. And then I've got to come back 7 hours to go to the forest where the Bielski brothers had the partisan movement, and to visit one of the righteous in Pinsk. Like, they're crazy, like amazing stories, and telling all these stories is like, I've got to drive a lot. It's like, well, you know, I have comfort of a comfortable car and an easy drive. And then I go and sit with someone who risked their life 75 years ago. So it's personally, the effect for me has not been very serious. But for the righteous, it's been serious. I you know, can't complain.
Yes, I know. Knowing a righteous or a Holocaust survivor, as we had the honor to have here many Holocaust survivors, I think it changes your perspective, the value you put on things. You know, it's like, oh, I'm so I don't know, I hate life, or I'm going through a difficult situation, and of course we can't minimize the things that they hurt us, you know. But thinking about these brave men and women that risk their lives for others, it's a thing to value, right? And as you said, we have everything. We have food, we have a house, everything. And I think that's a thing to be thankful for. I think Ron has another interesting question. If you want to ask it, it's okay.
Thank you. It just occurred to me, something that has never occurred to me really before, the term righteous among the nations. Is that strictly used to describe people who saved Jews, or is it also more widely open to people who have saved other nationals or other affected groups from the Holocaust?
It's a specific term from the Hebrew Chasidu Motolam, righteous amongst the nations, and it's basically an honorific that's used by the state of Israel to honor non-Jews who risked their lives to save Jews during the war. And again, there's a lot of points within that as well. For example, that person couldn't take money. They couldn't, you know, it had to be basically from the goodness of their heart, but it's absolutely only used for non-Jews. For example, a Jew who saved other Jews in the Holocaust, and there were those many stories like that, wouldn't be given title as righteous amongst the nations. This is just reserved for those people, these incredible people.
Yes, thank you so much. I think that's a good question, you know, but because maybe we didn't know that, and yes, it's specific for the righteous, and it's so amazing because, for example, sorry, when I went to Israel, to Yad Vashem, they have this garden of the righteous among the nations. So you can see a tree planted with a plaque, right? With the name of a man, of a woman that saved the Jews. And well, of course, there's a one for Schindler, but there you can find people from around all the Europe countries that you never thought they were helping you. So it's so interesting, and I just wanted to comment that. So I don't know if anyone has
South America as well. You know, there were incredible, you know, literally everywhere. There's an amazing story that we were starting to tell of actually, he was the honorary consul of Poland to Cuba, and Cuba refused to allow Jews off the boat, and he was able to convince them, along with the British ambassador. It was interesting actually because he himself was Jewish, the honorary consul of Poland to Cuba at the time. And there are so many stories from all around the world. There are famous people that we've heard of, like Sugihara, who was the Japanese diplomat in Lithuania, who forged thousands of false documents and enabled people to escape to South America and to other places as well. So, you know, there's truly remarkable stories, and once again, only 195 of them still alive.
I just wanted to tell about what the question of Ron. I think they were 2 weeks ago, we have a conference here with Mario Sinai talking about, not the writers, talking about the Jews that risk their lives to save other Jews. They are not recognized like that, like writers, but they are recognized in other ways, like rescues that saved Jewish people. Mario Sinai is doing a good job about that, and we have some stories about it. Yes, but it's different situation. Yad Vashem, what it does, it has to be recognized. It has to be a non-Jewish person. It doesn't matter what religion, just it has to be a Jew who saved Jews during the Holocaust.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, I don't know if anyone else has another question. If you have another question, you can, Isaac?
Yes, I have, no,
I have a
I think there is no
question on
other
the-
question, but like all the times, we have a surprise for you, Jonny, and that we have for many survivors. And Samantha has a surprise for you, something she does for everybody. And Sam, please, you can read it, show it to everybody.
Yes, it's my pleasure. I wrote a little verse about, okay, let me see, because I can't share my screen, I don't know why. Okay, about the righteous. It's a little verse, but I made it with all my love, so I am going to read it. I put the photo that Jonny had with the collage. I name it Heroes of the Unknown. Courageous heroes of the unknown. They deserve a crown and even more. Their brave heart is an inspiration. They are the righteous among the nations. Thank you so much, Jonny. It was a pleasure for us to have you here to be the voice of the righteous among the nations. And as I told you, I would love, well, I know it's difficult to contact the righteous, right? But if you can contact us with a righteous, we would love to interview one of them. And I will send you the poem too. Before ending this meeting, I think the one that has
I think there are a few more questions.
Okay, yeah, Michał wanted to talk.
Yeah, may I interrupt, Sam?
Yes, of course.
Well,
Sure.
first of all, I as a way of introduction, I want to say that you know, John is definitely know about it. He doesn't have a very positive opinion in the nationalistic or populistic media in Poland. And you know, while getting my information from the Polish media, this is how I have learned about him, and I've always wanted to meet him. So thank you very much, Sam, for actually introducing me to Jonny. Then I wanted to say that my my family being one of the last Holocaust survivors in Gdańsk, don't have a very positive experiences with the Polish people. They actually managed to survive because my grandfather was a doctor, and he was kind of treating people for saving him, and he was treating the what you call it, the Nazis who worked in the ghetto. How do you call, Jonny, please remind me how they were called? SS? No, not SS. Gestapo? Yes. So being a doctor, he could, by treating the Gestapos, he could manage to, you know, escape and then keep hiding, but he didn't get his help. But what is amazing, Sam with her family, they came to Poland for a research trip and my relatives from Ohio asked me that they're those Mexicans in Poland and they would like a Polish man to, to come and meet them in Grudziądz. So it was amazing. I came to Grudziądz. We spent, it was 2 days or 1 day together. And, me being Polish, I helped them find the people that actually knew their relatives hiding or living in Grudziądz. And for me, through the introduction of Mexican people, for the first time ever, I met the righteous or the Polish people who saved the Jews. So, the connection, the path is just unbelievable. And I am so impressed and so, speechless with my respect to Sam, what she is doing. And for me, it was such an incredible experience and interesting when Jonny said about the attitude of the aged, very old Polish righteous people. When you want to give them something, they usually say, no, we don't need anything. You give them money, they put it under the mattress or into a glass jar. This is exactly how my parents react. You want to help them, you give them money, they say they don't want anything. But if I go and buy them a new wireless phone or a mobile phone, only when you give it to them, they appreciate it, but they still want to go back to the shop and return it because they don't want anything. That is the kind of the mentality of people who lived order life in the hiding, and they're so closed. They're so closed about being Jewish. That is that generation. So when sorry to take it a little longer, but if I ask my parents or my grandfather parents or her brothers and sisters about their Jewishness, do you know what they say about those Polish Jews who talk about the Jewishness? They call them that they are farbed foxes because the Polish Jews are so, scared, so still closed about their experiences and everything. So, just listening to a young lady like Sam, for me, I am twice her age, but it's just amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and that's also one of the reasons why the right-wing media don't like me very much, because it's a different kind of Jew. And it's something that I don't think they expected someone with such a loud mouth and to come there and say things in their face. But it's also important. And look, we have, as I said before, we have one opportunity to tell the truth. And it's another huge responsibility that we have as young people is we have to always tell the truth, because one falsehood when it comes to Holocaust memory and memorial, it gives an opportunity for others to jump on.
Yes.
So Jonny, when are you back in Poland? Because I will come to Warsaw. I'm already, vaccinated, so I will come to Warsaw, and I would finally like to meet you in person.
It'd be my pleasure. As soon as I come back, I'll let you know. Add me on Facebook, Michał, and we'll be in chat.
No,
okay?
As a matter of fact, we have communicated with Facebook. I've contacted you before you went to Lithuania, because I know very well the family who sponsors and who bought the Sugihara Museum in Lithuania.
Oh, wonderful. Okay, so let's be in touch again.
Yeah.
And we'll figure it out. But I also need to come up to Gdansk because there are a few righteous there. So we'll find time.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you
so much, Sami.
Thank you for your words. It was amazing to meet you when we were in Poland, and you helped us a lot with translating. I'm learning Polish, but now by then I didn't know it even just to say thank you or something. Yeah. But thank you so much for your words. Thank you everyone for being here. Just another question that we always ask, Jonny, by any chance, do you know a righteous or a Holocaust survivor that played an instrument at the time of the Holocaust, for example? Because we have here in Mexico an organization that is Instruments of Hope, that they tell the stories about the people that played instruments, and it's so interesting.
Not off the top of my head. I don't know. And unfortunately, the difficulty with you interviewing the righteous is, as I said before, that the most of them do not use Zoom. Very, 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 very few, maybe a handful can speak English. And a lot of them don't share their stories. It's not like, there's only 195 left. They really don't, they have to feel comfortable to talk in an open setting, and it takes a long time, but we'll try our best, I promise.
Of course. Well, thank you so much, Jonny. And just for ending this, I just wanted to put here again our contact. We are, sorry. I'm here with Isaac from Der Judío and my project that is The Voice of the Silence. And you can contact us. These are my social media in Instagram, Facebook, and my email if you want to tell a story you have about someone you know, a righteous, a Holocaust survivor, whatever you want to tell us. And maybe soon I'm going to open a TikTok about this. I am getting encouraged by Jonny. So thank you, everyone that was in this meeting, and also who is watching us on Facebook, that they were, a lot of people also watching us on Facebook. So thank you, everyone, and good afternoon or good day for the ones that are here in America. Thank you so much, Jonny. We really appreciate the things you taught us today. So if you want to say goodbye to Jonny, you can open your camera, your microphone, and say thank you. Thank you, Jonny.
Thank you, Jonny.
Thank you all very much.
Sorry.
Thank you, Jonny.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jonny.
Thanks, Jonny.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Slach